Okay, welcome. All right. Um, in the practices that I've done or that we've done here in terms of finding a resource, finding a happy place, finding a place that you can direct your attention, whether that's an image, a thought, a sensation, a mantra, um, being as uh, being as detailed as possible actually does help. Like, where am I? What is what does the room look like? What is the smell of the room? Who's with me? What do the walls have hanging on them? Or, where in nature am I? What ocean am I at? How does what is the sensation of the breeze on my face? What is the smell of what is the smell of the environment? Are my feet in the sand? Am I wearing shoes, flip flops? As you get, and all those senses, it's like you're smelling it, you're in it, you're feeling the breeze, the sun. You know exactly where the sun is. It's over there to the right, and it's beaming on my face, and it's like the most perfect temperature. It's like 78 degrees with a slight breeze coming in from the southwest, and my feet are in the sand, and they're buried in the sand, and the warmth of the sand. Do you see? I'm creating this, and I'm like, this is real for me right now. I don't know about you guys, but I'm on vacation at the ocean. Okay. Um, that can be practiced and rehearsed in a way. And when you need it, it pops up. It's like, oh, here I am. Oh, yeah. Oh, I've done this. I've been here before. Right. It's like kind of like coming back home. For some people, that might be, pure awareness. It might be called the void. It might be called the space. It might be called the I am, whatever it is, right? But that we cultivate that practice to come back to that place, so that if and when we do need it, pops up. All right. Um, okay. Well, for today, one of the things that I have a 2-year old, and she's learning how to like read and make sense of words and letters and things like that. And I've always found this curious, because I think that sometimes our society is interesting in the energy that it puts out there. But it's curious to me. Before having kids, I never even paid attention to nursery rhymes. And after having kids, I paid attention to nursery rhymes, and I'm sort of like one of those people that I actually listen to the words. Like I really like uh, Neil Diamond, or these sorts of Sting. I like listening to the words and what the words mean, and the lyrics. Right, Bob Dylan. Like, what are they saying? Right, the Beatles, things like that. And so with nursery rhymes, I feel like maybe maybe I'm an N of one here. But I feel like nobody's listening to the words that we're repeating to our kids, because they make no sense. I'm I'm totally, and this is kind of like one of those things that in it's like if we're not paying attention to the language, even to the words that we're using with our children, or what is the message that gets across with a lot of these nursery rhymes, that we need to recreate nursery rhymes all over again. And we need to start from a mindful, loving, compassionate place, because the nursery rhymes that are distributed throughout and really influencing our kids are quite bizarre, bizarre, bizarre. And so this is my campaign to start to rewrite nursery rhymes, and we need to find, little jingles, and rewrite nursery rhymes for history from today on out, or choose not to repeat the nursery rhymes that we are repeating, because They don't make much sense. For instance, uh, rockabye baby on the treetop. When the wind blows, the cradle will rock. When the bough breaks, the cradle will fall, and down will come baby, cradle and all. Really? Really? I mean, is that when I'm holding my child and I'm supposed to drop him on the floor or something like that? Like, what is that telling me to do at that point, right? Um, Not clear. You know, I'm sure there's probably some meaning behind it or something like that. But the language that's used in that, is not one that I want to repeat over and over again to my child. Um, and so, I don't, but unconsciously we do this. And in the world of mindfulness, paying attention to things that are automatic, right? That we think that, for instance, oh, society does. Well, society, nursery rhymes. It's part of who we are. So I just need to continue doing that. And what's the message it's bringing across? And I challenge all of you to be conscious about those sorts of things, and being conscious about the types of words and language you use with your children, even if it's like, oh, well, this has been done for many, many years. So who cares? Is it an energy that you wish to bring into your child's life, or to your life? Are those the words that you want to be speaking to your kids or not? The reason I bring this up is because I have read this book in the past, and it comes off of the Humpty Dumpty nursery rhyme, which is a very popular nursery rhyme. It may be actually one of the most popular nursery rhymes, and it's the classic nursery rhyme of Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty together again. And there's many, if you go online, there's many interpretations of that. Who was Humpty Dumpty? Was he really an egg? Was he the king? Was he King Arthur or something like that? And they were poking fun. But yet, if you just read it like that, Humpty Dumpty, and you kind of try to figure out what a classic message is that, after a fall, you shatter your whatever it is, and you're not put back together. You're broken, right? And that's it. That's it. It's like, gee, Humpty Dumpty was having fun on a wall, and he fell, and he broke something, and he was left broken. Again, not a value or moral that I wish to instill in my kids, or even myself. And so, being careful with that. What we choose. Oh, I got you a book of nursery rhymes. Well, great. Do I want to read these nursery rhymes? Do I want to share this information with whoever it might be, right? Even if I'm reading them out loud to myself, like, what does that really mean? And so, in the world of mindfulness, being mindful of the types of language, of the words that we use, of the things that we read, even of traditional things that we say are so commonplace that we don't even think about it. We're not even listening to the words that are coming out, and what the messages might mean to a 2, 3, 4-year-old who has the understanding of like falling and breaking something, and then all the king's horses and the king's men can oh my goodness, that's a lot of people, right? Mom, Dad, what if I fall and I break my arm, and all the people in the world can't help but me put it back together, right? or the doctors at the hospital can't help, or whatever it might be, right? What sort of fear is that bringing into the kids? So that's why I share this, because this is it's a book that we have read in the past, um, but not in a while. And I do like to bring these things up because it's important to me that we really, we pay attention to the types of language that we use with each other, our kids, our loved ones, um, and so this book is actually called After the Fall, and it's by an author by the name of Dan Santat, um, who actually I believe lives in Los Angeles, um, lives close to us. Um, and this book is called After the Fall. And so you usually don't hear about what happens to Humpty Dumpty after the fall, or maybe you can create your own book of what happens to Humpty Dumpty after the fall. But just I have actually taken tunes from nursery rhymes, and as I'm singing, as I'm using the tune, I change the words to my kids. All right. Um, Sometimes the tunes can be catchy, right? And so I use the tune, but I change the words. A lot of good tunes, if you think about a tune, if you have a good tune, you can almost change the words and the tune still fits. You can find many words that fit that tune. And a good tune will do that. You don't actually have to stay to the words that are, with the tune. So I do recommend, I wish that as a society we can recognize this and start to change the tunes of some of these nursery rhymes that we repeat to each other. Okay. And so I'm going to read you this book, sort of like story time. And I'll show you the pictures. I'll read it to you, and then I'll show the pictures. My name is Humpty Dumpty. This was my favorite spot, high up on the wall. I know it's an odd place for an egg to be, but I loved being close to the birds. Then one day I fell. I'm sort of famous for that part. Folks called it the Great Fall, which sounds a little grand. It was just an accident, but it changed my life. Right? It's like, who's Humpty Dumpty? Well, Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. That's it, right? Like, that's it. And nobody could put him back together again. Nobody, right? Not even himself. Like, gee, give the guy a little, give him something, right? So there's the wall. It's a wall with some bushes on it. He went to King's County Hospital, and he said, "Fortunately, all the king's men managed to put me back together." Right, so already a little bit of a difference from the nursery rhyme we all tell our kids. Right, he went to King's County Hospital, and he was bandaged back together. He's got a lot of bandages on him, right, as he's walking out of the hospital. Well, most of me. There were some parts that couldn't be healed with bandages and glue. So sometimes that's sort of like how we all feel, right? After we have a fall. Sort of like, yeah, I got that bandage over the, they repaired the bone that broke, but am I okay? What are my resources right now? After that day, I became afraid of heights. I was so scared that it kept me from enjoying some of my favorite things. So he would only get the cereal from the bottom row and not use the ladder to get up to the top. I walk past the wall every day and I would think about climbing that ladder again. I really miss the birds and being high above the city, but I could never do it because I knew that accidents can happen. Oh, here he is walking past the wall. I eventually settled for watching the birds from the ground. I wasn't the same, but it was better than nothing. Then one day, an idea flew by. So he's watching the birds that are on the telephone wires, and he sees a paper airplane flying by. Making planes was harder than I thought. It was easy to get cuts and scratches, but day after day I kept trying and trying. So he's in his little studio trying to make paper airplanes. Until I got it just right. And he made a cool little paper airplane there. My plane was perfect and it flew like nothing could stop it. I hadn't felt that happy in a long time. It wasn't the same as being up in the sky with the birds, but it was close enough. Here he is playing with his. Unfortunately, accidents happen. They always do. And paper airplane went to the other side of the wall. I almost walked away again, but then I thought about all the time I'd spent working on my plane and all the other things I'd missed. I decided I was going to climb that wall. So there's his plane. It's on the top of the wall right there. But the higher I got, the more nervous I felt. I didn't want to admit it. I was terrified. I didn't look up. I didn't look down. I just kept climbing one step at a time. Until I was no longer afraid. There he is on top of the wall. Right. The climbing to me is like that almost like you continue with your practice, right? You're not sure where it's going. You might know the judgments that are present. Sometimes maybe you felt a little calm. Sometimes you felt more anxious. You're not really clear, but you keep going, baby steps. So he gets to the top of the wall and he says, maybe now you won't think of me as that egg who was famous for falling. And something starts happening to him. So you see the cracks in the egg. Hopefully you'll remember me as the egg who got back up. Well, that's a different motto, isn't it? That's a different perspective to teach our kids. Instead of all the king's horses and all the king's men, it's like, he actually got back up and put himself back together. Took him some time. He used some resources that he did. So hopefully you'll remember me as the egg who got back up. So here's the egg that got back up. Looks like he's feeling pretty good about himself. And then we see this image. The shells are flying off. You see those beautiful wings developing. And learned to fly. All right. Don't eggs turn into something? Don't they hatch and become? So this is Humpty Dumpty, and this is called After the Fall by Dan Santat. Maybe now you won't think of me as that egg who was famous for falling. Hopefully you'll remember me as the egg who got back up and learned how to fly. Okay. So now, right, people might think you're crazy. Watch when somebody brings up the Humpty Dumpty story, or they're saying the nursery rhyme, right? Humpty Dumpty, and you're gonna know this story, and you're gonna say, yeah, but do you know what happened to him after the fall? And be like, nothing happened to him after the fall. Well, that's not true. That's not true. That's not true. He actually got up. Okay. The bandages were put on the egg, and then you get to ask, well, what do eggs be? What do you know eggs can become? Um, he did not just stay an egg, right? He actually learned how to find a resource. It was paper airplanes, still a resource, and then learned how to fly himself. Right, learn how to fly himself. And so, despite how much we've fallen from the wall, despite how many cracks we have in our own eggshell, how many, it's really about how do we find the energy, the courage, the perseverance to pick ourselves up, to continue to go back to that resource, right? Back to that resource, or changing your resource, right? We heard today about many resources that maybe didn't work, but yet changing the resource and trying another one, trying a different resource, maybe something you heard or read in a book, or peripherally saw in a magazine or something like that, and you try it. And then before you know it, there's an internal transformation that occurs within your own eggshell, and you're flying. You're learning how to fly. So now when that story comes up, tell people that there is an after the fall, and let them know what happens to Humpty Dumpty after the fall. And I would encourage you to find other nursery rhymes like this, and change the language. Change the language. Right? Okay. Let's go into our practice. Okay, so let's start by finding a comfortable posture. A posture that you feel relaxed yet alert. Closing your eyes if you feel comfortable closing your eyes. If not, having a soft downward gaze. And taking 2 or 3 deep breaths. And with each inhale, directing your breath to any part of your body that you feel could relax ever so slightly more. And with each exhale, releasing any extra held energy within your body that you can choose to release at this time. And then breathing regularly at whatever pace works best for you. And for this meditation, just keeping in mind the practice, finding our resource, coming back to our resource over and over and over again, a place we can call home, a place we can direct our attention to, that we feel is safe or safer. And just keeping that perspective of the story we just read of after the fall. That we know we're all going to fall. What happens afterwards? To some extent, we're all Humpty Dumpty. We can all fall, find the resource to recollect ourselves, put ourselves back together as best we can, and continue with our practice, overcoming fears, being curious of the present moment, and transforming ourselves into something we never imagined we could become. Like a bird from an egg, a butterfly from a cocoon. And allowing your attention to rest on your resource, whatever that might be. Maybe it's an image of your happy place, a happy bath, bathing in your happy space. Maybe it's a mantra, a repetition of a word, sound, or phrase. Maybe it's pure awareness, the I am, all one. And taking a few moments to just rest there. And just noticing as your mind wanders, if it does, that that's the nature of the mind. And that as you notice that, choosing for this practice not to direct any energy, and come back to your resource, your happy place, your safer place. Coming back home over and over and over again. And noticing where your attention is now. Noticing the felt sense in your body. The felt sense in your heart. And as we bring this meditation to a close today, recognizing how using our resources can be transformative. Even in ways that we might not yet understand. We come back to our resource over and over and over again and watch, observe, be curious as our own mind, body, and spirit may transform from a cracked egg into a beautiful bird soaring high in the sky. And taking 2 or 3 deep breaths, opening your eyes if your eyes were closed, reorienting yourself to your room and surroundings, and just taking a moment to reflect on your practice today.